free to ask me whatever it is you want to ask me.
Okay.
Okay. Who are you doing this for, by the way?
For fun and to just try to build my peace, love, and wine sort of community.
Peace, love, and wine community. You'll have to promote that in the Soulful Storyteller. I love that.
Okay, cool. Are we live or?
Yeah, we're live.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Sorry, I'm waiting for the go. All right. So cheers. It's AM happy hour. Apparently, I've already been drinking.
I love it. I love it.
This is actually seltzer.
I explain that sometimes too, that sometimes my water glasses look like wine glasses.
I figured, to fit the theme here, I should put it in a wine glass. So anyway, thanks for having me in the Soulful Storyteller group.
Yeah.
How did we even connect? Somebody else put us in touch? I don't remember exactly how it happened.
I wrote a piece for Being Boss, and then it was about manifesting and the fact that I think manifesting is a business term, and then you found us from there.
That's right. Okay, yes, that was a good article.
Thank you.
So you call yourself a storyteller. How did you kind of come up with that term? Have you always been a writer? Tell me a little bit about how you kind of got to that point where you decided to use that term.
So I'm a soulful storyteller, I call myself, and I'm a storyteller trainer. So I've always been a writer. I started writing when I was a kid. I was bullied as a kid, and I would come home from school and I would recreate my reality, and I would use my imagination to create make-believe in my journals. I would write songs and poems and short stories. So I've always been a creative writer. I went to journalism school and started writing for the school newspaper. And so I've been a writer and since I was 19, a published writer since I've been 19.
Okay.
I feel like I moved into the storyteller component when I launched a nonprofit, and I had to, back in 2011, because I was a sought after keynote speaker at breakfasts and lunches, sought after by the media, and the idea of storytelling has gotten so concise that we have such a short amount of time to hook people into our experiences and our lessons, and that all comes down to a story. Mm-hmm. When I started writing personal essays in 2014, I started expanding my storytelling, genre from my past experience of being bullied to my experience of burnout as an entrepreneur. And then women started coming forward and asking me to help them get published. Sorry, my mom just called. Asking me to help them get published, and I became a storyteller trainer for women at that point.
Okay.
So for those of you joining Soulful Storyteller, I am on a Zoom interview with Tiffany.
Hello, everybody.
And we are doing a Facebook Live here. So if you guys have questions about writing or how I started a storytelling business, feel free to ask them here, and I'll answer them on Zoom.
So I think it's cool that you sort of turn the writing into, do you consider sort of a coaching business too, or a consulting business? Okay.
For some reason, I haven't ever identified with the term coach. I was always, this concept of being a trainer feels really grounding for me, and I don't know why. I think coach and trainer are the same. I think there's similar experiences. Because I don't have a coaching license, I didn't feel comfortable calling myself a coach.
Okay.
So, but I am a teacher. I'm a natural teacher. I've taught writing at university levels all the way down to elementary. So that felt right for me.
Okay, cool. And so when you were talking about going home after getting bullied and writing, were you actually working through the emotions and the sort of the challenges with that, or what were you doing?
I don't think I was. I know I wasn't. I know I wasn't addressing, Tiffany asked me if I was addressing the issue of being bullied as I was writing throughout my elementary education. I don't feel like I was. I think I was finding some sort of, in the short stories and the make-believe I was creating this alternative world, right, where I fit in and all my dreams were met, and I was well liked, and I felt good about myself. I don't think I don't know if it was definitely a form of expression, and so it helped my self-esteem, but it didn't teach me how to verbalize and stand up for myself. That was still the missing link. So what I've learned now from the mounds of research I've done about bullying and from launching the nonprofit and working with girls around the country, the writing that we would make the girls do in all of our books was very therapeutic in terms of directing them to the experiences. So the writing is really more to help them in that area. But as a 10, 13-year-old girl, I just wanted to write about being a part of New Kids on the Block and, you know, the Nelson twins and stuff.
It's funny. Tell me a little bit about, is it Supergirls? Is that what the nonprofit is?
Yeah, Supergirl. Supergirl was a part of, so we wrote a series of workbooks, the Supergirl guidebooks. They're sold nationally through a publisher called Morgan James. In it are self-esteem exercises, tools to self-love, respect, acceptance, healthy communication tools. And then there's a journal in the back that helps girls express their feelings. So.
And how did you kind of get that launched? How did you get it into schools? What was your process for that?
How did I get Supergirl launched? So for those, hi Jenny, for those joining, I'm in an interview with Tiffany on Zoom, and we're doing a live stream on Miss Local Storyteller. So I always knew I was meant to do something really big and really creative. I launched the nonprofit with my 401k, and when I launched, girl power was sort of on the rise. So the First Lady of the United States had just created a non-bullying program. Bullying was in the height, and I was behind the scenes pulling together all of these teachers and social workers and administrators who had implemented self-esteem programs for girls at schools here in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. And so we launched as a pilot program here in Phoenix to like 32 girls over the course of 6 weeks. And all we did was implement creative activities and healthy communication activities. And we helped girls express themselves creatively while communicating with one another and forming relationships. And after the pilot, moms came forward and said, well, now what? Now what am I supposed to do? And so I went back to our advisory board and I suggested that we come up with a long-term program, which then we moved into a semester program. And at the end of the semester, the moms came forward and said, now what? Now what am I supposed to do? So I thought, why don't we come up with a board game? This is how my mind works, and this is how crazy this happened. I thought, let's come up with a board game that we can sell nationwide, right? I mean, like, I shoot for the stars and then start to come down. So we actually were pretty far in the process. We had met with somebody that we would hire to help us create a board game. We were looking at dimensions and all the pieces and the vendors we would have to get in. And one of the elements I wanted to create was a little tiny notepad. So I was sitting in a meeting with a woman who had an imprint with Morgan James, and my intuition kicked in, and I heard her tell me that she had just been given an imprint.
What is that?
It's an extension or a branch. So okay. If you're a huge publishing company, someone is given an imprint, and they're essentially given the rights to go out and find authors. And sitting with this woman who had just been offered an imprint, and I said, hey, just out of curiosity, do you think Morgan James would be interested in printing a free or a clean notepad for us? The next day I was on a call with the CEO of Morgan James. He turned me down for the free notepad, and he said, your board game sounds really expensive. If you turn that whole thing into a workbook, I'll be your publisher. So literally 2 days later, I had a signed contract, and what I initially thought was going to be like a roll dice board game into Supergirl Guide for Respect. And that's how that started in 2012. And since then, I've developed and printed 2 additional workbooks. I have a third one in my computer and on 2 additional backups. I feel like when the time comes, I'll probably print that one as well. So it's a long process. It is a major underhaul, and it's not something that happened easily, naturally, or even with the intention of developing first as a workbook. But everything happens for a reason, right? So
it seems like there's a lot of opportunity there with just to make a really big difference in the world and in female lives. And I mean, that's part of why I've started Peace, Love, and Wine, is that I want to have women supporting women, because like you, I was also bullied as a kid. I hated school growing up. Yeah, that's actually when I read your bio on your website, I was like, weird that we made contact, because I felt like we had some similar story there. So yeah, I mean, elementary school, even like junior high, middle school was just rough.
Yeah. Yeah, the elementary school system for girls is tiring, and I kept on getting questions when I was running the nonprofit, is it getting worse? And research continues to show that bullying isn't worse in schools today. It's just easier for kids to manipulate one another. What they're learning in 8th grade, what I learned in 8th grade, girls are now learning in like 5th grade. And so I was bullied starting in like 4th grade. Mm-hmm. It really started, younger than that. Our workbooks are written to a 5th grade learning level, and then we let the parents who purchase them decide whether or not their child is too young or too old for the material. But yeah, and then, the cyber thing just took everything to a higher level. We were consistently asked why we weren't working online and why our workbooks were printed and not available on like laptops or, the Wii. And we wanted to get away from that. We wanted to put everything back in the hands of the girls and teach them some like tangible lessons. But when I launched in 2011, it's really one of the reasons why I hit burnout, because we were catapulted into the media spotlight pretty instantly. So within a year, I had a workbook published. I had a publisher. I was in Glamour magazine. I was talking to USA Network. It was a lot in a very short amount of time, and I didn't handle that very well. So by 2014, I was already writing about burnout and on a burnout recovery, which is how I turned into a storyteller trainer, because that writing for Huffington Post moved me into writing for Redbook, writing for Mind Body Green, and meeting editors at Self and Glamour and Cosmo. And so that's how I turned into a storyteller trainer.
Because you wanted to help other people not go through
stories get published. Yeah.
Okay. What kind of articles have you written for those magazines? I mean, have they all mainly been focused around just general storytelling, or also the sort of the bullying and helping people through that?
No, the bullying, I stopped writing about my experience being bullied when I really started writing for the Huffington Post in 2014. So come that time when I stepped into being a personal storyteller, I've written about everything from my journey to happy, how I found my happiness, my intuition, stepping out as an intuitive. I've written about meditation, manifestation. I've written about my fertility, which has been my process and story over the last 8 months. I've written about depression. I've written about a lot of really personal things that I feel like are entryways into creating a bigger tribe, because I think that those experiences that sort of hurt us and wound us are the things that we're supposed to express and then help other people heal from, so that we go through our own growing process and pass on the lessons that we've learned. And that's why I think storytelling is so powerful and it's a healing tool for us. Mm-hmm. But I call it the law of attraction tool, because it's like, when we step into our power and we share something from a peaceful, soulful, loving place, we're setting free like these infinite possibilities to the masses. So like this, I wrote one story, you read it, joined the group, reached out to me, invited me to do this, and who knows what this will lead to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just really am enjoying the powerful just cool women that I've been meeting lately just through networking and connecting online. And
yeah, I love it. And I feel like we're in such a higher state of consciousness across the world that people are looking to connect with one another at a deeper level and understand each other and really, rather than just surface level stuff, which is good because I'm not good at the surface stuff.
Me neither.
Like small talk. I really don't like going to networking parties because I don't really know how to do that. You don't learn that, which I mean, I'm okay with, but I've never really been good at it.
Yeah. Are you, do you have siblings?
I'm the oldest of three. I have a brother and a sister. They're both married with kids. So I have 7 nieces and nephew.
Oh, wow.
I have 2 nephews. So I'm the jungle gym, and I'm kind of like Peter Pan, where I'm the one that they always come to and know that they can come running at and jump on and swing from, and it's fun.
That is a fun place to be.
Do you have siblings?
No, I'm an only child. So
Okay.
yeah, I grew up alone. I now have a stepbrother, but I was already out of the house by the time that
Are you
happened.
super creative?
I'm sorry, what did you ask?
Are you creative? Like, do you use your imagination a lot?
I think so. I feel like I have a lot more creative desire than I've really been able to express or put out into the world. That's actually another reason why I am doing Peace, Love, and Wine, is to be able to curate and cultivate creativity around me, even if I'm not the maker.
Yeah, that's great. I've always wondered if single children or only child, I guess, if they have an active imagination, to make up for that sibling thing that people with siblings have. I've always wondered that. I have a super creative imagination. I have siblings, so I always wondered what it would be like if I didn't have siblings.
I read a lot when I was younger. Spent lots of summers entering reading contests at the children's bookstores.
That's cool.
But I haven't read it much. What?
Are you writing?
I wrote a lot more, I think, when I was younger. Then I went to school and I started getting judged on my writing, and I kind of decided I didn't like that so much.
Oh no, yeah, judgment for the writers. Are you talking about like college, or are you talking about even younger?
Mainly college, because that was when I was minoring in creative writing at the time.
Yeah.
And it was just at the same thing. I was also initially majoring in theater, and both those things I kind of determined, oh, well, I don't have the talent that other people have. I have the passion for it, but not the talent. So
you have to have like such thick skin for being a writer and being edited and critiqued. And it really is a brutal, sort of harsh. When I was in college, my very first piece I ever wrote was on a protest, and I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I just joined the school newspaper. It literally was like day one, and they sent me out to a protest. And I remember my very first source was a dude that wouldn't give me his name. And so he's like, you can just call me Bear. And so when I wrote it, my editor was like, I can't let you quote somebody who won't give you a source. And so I went to pick up the paper the next day. It was on what's called the top of the fold. So it's like you're looking at a newspaper right underneath the headline. And my name was on it, but I didn't recognize a single word. So my editor had completely rewritten it from first word to last word. And I thought, oh my God, if this is what this is like, I don't think I can do this. So I made a vow to myself in college that the only thing I would look at was the critiques from my advisor. So every journalism student had to have an editor and an advisor. And the advisor was a college professor. And mine was this crusty old dude who had worked for everyone from the Chicago Tribune to CNN, and he had it out for everyone. So I know I would never, ever impress him. So I went into it taking it with a grain of salt and an extra salt shaker. But he was the only one I ever read critiques from. And I don't know if it made me a better writer, but it definitely kept me humble, right? Uh-huh. So Yeah, you need such a thick skin to go through it, but it's important. Like if you have stories on your heart and on your mind, it's important to trust the fact that they're there for a reason, and you're going to find the right person to help you get them out in the world. But they're important to share. So I hope you do.
Thank you. I have in the past blogged some, and I'm thinking about getting back into it a little bit. I'm about to publish a guest post, so we'll see. I kind of did a period of like waves where I'll do a bunch and then I don't do any for a while. So I think it's probably important that I do it more. But how did you develop your thick skin, your calluses for rejection?
The more I wrote, the more you write, the more you're open to the possibility of being judged, criticized, and rejected. But I started to realize that I had this craving for healing the world through stories. And I feel like that's even where bullying comes in. It's like, I think the kids bully one another because they're not open to hearing and understanding each other's stories. So everything comes back down to a story. And when I was in college and I was doing this, I felt like I was running towards something. And these stories that I was getting critiqued and judged on were just like hurdles. And as soon as I got over one, instead of looking back, I just went forward. The really hard stuff is the manuscripts and pitching literary agents. That is like, that takes a lot of swallowing your pride and kind of getting over it. And I believe so strongly that I'm put here to share stories and to heal people through stories and to help people understand one another through a story, that I'm letting that drive me so much to pull me forward. And I'm holding faith in that versus letting the possibility of being rejected hold me back. So even like today, after I've written a lot about my fertility over the last 8 months, and something super heartbreaking happened today. And I know that I am going through it for a reason. And rather than leaning back and deciding, to sort of hide in it and not share it, that my gift is here and I'm supposed to lean into it. So it's not easy. It's not enjoyable. And, for all those purposes, sometimes it really effing sucks. But I don't think I'd be given this gift if I weren't supposed to use it. So, it's literally like just humbling, going like this and surrendering to it and moving into it.
Well, I'm sorry that you had that experience today. You're welcome to share if you like, and I totally understand if you don't want to.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I'm 38 and I ran after my career in my 20s, and so I'm single, and I never anticipated having to take action and preserve my fertility at this stage in my life. I decided to do it. And so over the last 8 months, I've been through 2 different cycles of fertility treatments, 106 injections, $15,000 investment, 2 dress sizes, a new bra size, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of joy, a lot of stress. And I was invited to do a second round of fertility just last month because the first round failed. And I think the doctor offered it to me because he realized he was at fault for the failure. And I do think he was partly to blame for the failure. I didn't have the best mindset during that time because of the amount of stress. And so I think the failure was partly mine too. But so the second time it was much better. They ended up being able to retrieve 13 eggs. Out of those eggs, 8 were good. They froze 3 of them and then tried to turn 5 into embryos. And over the last 5 days, I've been on the phone with the fertility clinic, and each day they have worse and worse and worse news. And so today I just learned that none of the embryos made it to the freezing stage. Mm-hmm. So, incredibly crushed. I'm still in shock, I think. But like I said, I don't believe I went through all that jazz for nothing. So I think the fertility business is a really convoluted business. I don't think there's a lot of clarity for a lot of people moving into it. And So I feel like I'm supposed to bring some light to it and find, I know the story, the book. I feel like I could possibly write another essay. So before we went on, I was telling the people in the Soulful Storyteller that I literally have a draft of a pitch to the editor at Self Magazine I've been talking to. And after this, I'm going to do a little meditation to actually really sort of lean into it and question if I'm supposed to send it. So at this point in my life, I'm at the point where I'm like, what's mine and what's everyone else's? Like, what am I experiencing that is private and what is meant for me to share?
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Is your goal to just preserve for in the future when you decide you want to have a child?
That's what thanks, Letty. I appreciate that. That's the reason I went down this journey. So I initially started it because I just wanted to freeze eggs. And then in my initial consultation with the doctor, he said, you should really think about creating embryos because frozen eggs only have a 30% chance in resulting in a live birth once you dethaw them and fertilize them. And so I didn't know that moving into this. So I agreed to it for a variety of reasons. One, what if he and I'm still single. I don't even know if I'll ever meet somebody. I pray I do, but this was all on an if, what if, right? And there's all of these what ifs. There's like, what if we can't get pregnant? So then moved into the creation of the embryo. What if we never use them? Then opted into being an embryo donor and going through that process. So there's a lot. And what I find so fascinating about personal storytelling and the media industry, it's actually personal essay writing is a really easy way to get published because so many people are craving learning. There's somebody else going out experiencing something that they've experienced as well. And rather than hearing it from the doctor and the expert, we want to hear it from our next door neighbor. We want to hear it from the girl sitting on the mat in yoga, right? That's what personal essay writing is. And so it's a beautiful opportunity for people to get published. And that's my specialty.
Okay.
Fortunately, my specialty is also the really vulnerable, hard stories that are hard to tell. So a lot of my clients have more heartbreaking stories than mine. I feel like in order to be there for them, though, I've got to walk my walk and talk my talk. And so when I'm going through something like this, I'm at that place where I'm like, what's mine? What's everyone else's?
Right.
So
I struggle with that too, and I haven't gone through anything like what you're dealing with. But it's sort of, what's TMI? What's going to, help me if I'm vulnerable? Am I going to then help other people more, or am I just whining? Right?
Yeah, I understand. So tell me more about Peace Wine. What is it? Peace, Love, and Wine?
Peace, Love, and Wine, yes.
Peace, Love, and Wine. I love it.
So, and just sort of the soft launch phase of it right now. But it sort of started as a silly idea between one of my girlfriends and myself when we were wine tasting, of course.
Wine tasting.
She owns a VW bus, 1979 VW bus that she drove here from Canada in the winter.
Oh my gosh.
And those things aren't inexpensive to maintain. The bus's name is Phyllis. So we were kind of thinking, gosh, how do we turn this into a write-off? Like she's so expensive. How do we make it a write-off? And so she's kind of become the mascot of the company. We haven't quite figured out how to work her all into everything, but I think it would be fun to go around and do some pop-up shops and things where Phyllis actually is the one that's sort of the star of the show.
Yeah, that'd be really neat. I love that idea. I love that. That's really fun. And that is actually, there was a company out of Texas that was doing that for a while called like the Wellness Bus or something. And they would go around to different cities and like schools and community centers and hold these free events. I don't know how they made money. They must have made money through sponsorships and things like that. But I hope it works for you guys. That's fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah. So, I'm still fleshing it out, but in terms of like the actual product, it's a subscription box. So a gift box for, either somebody who just wants to get fun mail because, who doesn't like fun mail?
Yeah.
Or corporate or real estate gifts too. So I'm doing a couple different ones, but kind of the main one, I'm calling it the boho box. So
Boho box.
Okay. The creative, free-spirited box for creative women by creative women. So basically, I really wanted to be able to feature U.S.-based female artisans, and so I'm connecting with a lot of people there.
Very cool.
So each
if I can ever help with some sort of storytelling aspect, let me know. I don't know how I would. I mean, I'm super creative, and so tell me what you're looking for. I could probably create something, but I think that's fantastic. I love those concepts. I'll have to look into it. Please share it in the group. Okay,
thank you. Yes, one of the things that I'm doing is called the Peaceful Mind Candle Club too. So we'll be using, will be a couple different ones, but there'll be a quarterly subscription where either in an upcycled wine bottle or a wine glass that you can then reuse later, a candle, but I want to turn it into a little bit of more of a ritual thing. So there'll be a meditation or a mindfulness activity in it. And so sounds like you have some experience there, so I might be able to.
I love, I do meditate. I meditate every day. I journal every day. And my journaling and my meditation oftentimes roll into one where I almost feel like I like to meditate first and kind of get centered and get open, but sometimes I feel like my journal is more of, goes beyond my comprehension. Sometimes I almost feel like I'm writing something else or somebody else. But I love mantras. I incorporate a lot of mantras into my work. A lot of my clients are healing stories first. And so I'll send out journaling exercises a lot of times to help them kind of move into that space. But yeah, that sounds a lot of fun. Good for you. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah. And I think maybe some of those exercises we could incorporate too, because that's something I really want, where people are, creating those rituals for their own well-being and mental health. And I think bringing that goodness into the world too. So
for sure. It's one of the reasons why I developed one of my programs is called Journal to Happy. And it's my self-love course. And so it's an online yearly journaling and self-love development course where every week you get a different journal entry. It's a month-to-month membership. It's $39 a month. And every week you get a different journaling entry around a different core theme. And so we address things like happiness, joy, money, family, support, change. And the goal is to help you heal a blind spot that you don't know is there. And then I bring in different experts every month for a Zoom call to provide some cool things on mindset and meditation and things like that. But I love that stuff. That's totally my jam. So
that's awesome. And that's kind of what I want to do with the virtual happy hours here is bring in those speakers and women who have something to share or a story even that's moving and motivational. So I feel like there might be some good overlap.
Yeah, that sounds good. I love that. I'll send you the Journal to Happy thing, because if that does work, that might be a really good overlap. So we can play around with that.
Okay, that'd be great. Are you a wine drinker? Random question.
Yeah, I used to be. As I've gotten older, my body hasn't been able to process it as well. So I'll have whereas I used to be able to have 2 glasses, now it's half a glass. So, and I'm okay with it. Writers, especially freelance writers, I was at every possible networking event I could possibly think of to get a gig, So when I was younger, in my 20s, and I was making a living as a freelance writer, writing for every possible publication here in town, I was at 2 parties a night sometimes, right? And so I wouldn't have a cocktail at the first one, but I'd have a cocktail at the second one. Now, I just can't do it anymore. So I'm much more the girl who likes ginger ale on ice with grapes, frozen grapes. I'll do hot apple cider with a cinnamon stick now. So I find a way to get fancy, but I can't do it anymore.
That's funny. I hear lots of people who, as they get older, that it really affects them differently.
Yeah, my heart will race. I'll sweat I had a glass of wine Friday night at dinner, and it took me probably 2.5 hours to get through the whole glass. It was a sipper, and it was just a glass of Chardonnay, but it took me all night to drink it. So
sometimes that happens to me too, and sometimes it's because I'm just sort of in my chill out. I do coloring too. I kind of discovered the whole adult coloring thing.
I love coloring.
Sometimes I'll just pull out my coloring book and get my glass of wine and my chocolate, and sometimes it can take me several hours to get through a glass too.
Yeah.
Other times, but that's fun. So one of the things that I call kind of the women in my life who are also enjoying wine, but really good friends, I call them my wine sisters.
Yeah.
So, I guess, who would you consider your wine or your water sisters, where you can have a glass of tea with them?
Yeah. Here in town, in Phoenix, I have a good supportive group of women. A lot of them are intuitive spirituals, entrepreneurs. And so on a monthly basis, we'll get together for dinner and we'll hold space for one another. And one of my good girlfriends is a professional Italian chef. So I've got great sisterhoods. I have so many more sisterhoods around the world, though, thanks to this Facebook group and so many others. My soul sisters are the ones that, finding the news out this morning, the first thing I did was just send out a couple of notes, just, letting them know what was happening, praying for some support. I do feel like sisterhoods are so important, right? They're so important for our self-development, for our mirror work that we do to grow and change, and to learn. I love it. I'm so grateful for the women I have in my life.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it's interesting coming from it being not that way, right? Growing up in the bullying aspect, and then just now kind of discovering everybody kind of being able to blossom together and really support one another.
Yeah.
For me has been really great too. And not having siblings, not having sisters, I have to create my own, so there's something really, really meaningful in those relationships I've discovered.
Yeah, I love that. That's one of the reasons why the nonprofit I created is called Seavers and Sisters, and we really were about developing sisterhoods. And then as I developed it, I had women coming forward and saying, oh, you should really have a women's program. That was one of the reasons my burnout was so heavy, is because I believed I should create a women's program. And so I went off and I did. And I was the one leading vision board parties. And that was really cool. But it felt heavy for me, right, to take on helping girls create sisterhoods and women's create sisterhoods. So what I've learned as an entrepreneur is that I fuel up with the sisterhoods in my life. I can teach girls how to create healthy relationships. And it's one of the reasons why our workbooks are so successful. But I feel like my fueling is in my relationships I've developed, and I'm grateful for them. I hold space for them. It's weird when I haven't talked to one of them in a while, and I'll just get this random note like checking in, period. Like, yeah, you too, what's new? We have to do a call. I love it.
I love it too. It's funny that you mentioned your friend that's the Italian chef. I've actually been trying to figure out female chefs. Does she do like private chef work, or does she work at a restaurant?
Corporate parties, parties at her own home. And then I don't think she's catering anymore. So it's more corporate and private, like in her home. So she's got this great business concept where once a month she'll throw a dinner party for like 40 people at her home. She'll bring in a speaker or some sort of entertainment and cook the food. You pay her, and she splits the profit with her speaker. And it's a pretty good business model. I like it.
That's actually one of the things I want to create as well. Having wine pairing dinners where we have a speaker or some sort of activity, almost like a retreat in a sense. So it's so funny. We one of my friends recently attended a in-home dinner by he was a male Italian chef, and he's also a wine broker, so he kind of brings along the wine to pair with everything. And then she hosted one at her house, and I think she just had another one last night. But
Nice.
I want to it's so fun. I mean, it's eating food. I mean, I love food. There's just something about sharing a meal with somebody and hearing the story behind it too. So he would tell us, you know, oh, this is from the region of such and such, and
I know.
fishermen.
Yeah, it takes you to a different place. I've wanted to go to Italy for years. I also want to go to Ireland for a year, for a long time. But the stories that we learn from the regions, from the food, is such a great place. I know there's a couple of food writers here in Soulful Storyteller, and I'm always so fascinated by how they're able to tie in the food, the experience of sharing with the region that it comes from. I love it. I'm a big, Cooking Light, Food Network. That's my guilty pleasure. I love it.
Well, I'd love to connect with your chef friend too, because
okay. Yeah, I'll send you her contact information. She's a good person to know. Cool.
All right. Well, how about one more question here? Yeah. If you could sit down and have a glass of wine or cup of tea with any woman, past or present, who would it be?
If I could have a glass of wine with anyone, past or present, who would it be? That's a good one. Holy cow. My favorite author is Miss Alcott, the writer of Little Women.
It's the only book I've read twice.
Yeah, and she's written so much other great material. I love that she's got, one of my favorite quotes is, "I'm not afraid of the storm, for I'm learning how to sail my ship." And it's sort of been my mantra in life. I think that's why I could totally cry right now. I think it's why I'm so focused on being able to take the licks and the criticism and the judgment, because I know there's something moving me forward, right? And so she's the creator of that and Little Women and so many other great pieces of work. And she was so ahead of her time that I would love to sit and pick her, just have a glass with her and pick her brain about what it was like to be her in her time, and what she thinks of storytelling now and women who are doing it today. And that would be a lot of fun.
That's a good one.
How about you? Who would you pick?
In terms of people, I don't know. Recently I've been thinking about this question, and I think really it would probably be my mom. My mom passed away 10 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
But there's so many things and so many interesting parallels, actually, I've discovered between like my life and my choices that it's just so strange. Like it's something that looking back, it's like, wow, that's like, you definitely your mother's daughter, but it wasn't intentional the way things happened. And so there's just certain things that my mom wanted to do or places she wanted to go and just things that I've done that she would really enjoy hearing about or participating in. I mean, this whole Peace, Love, and Wine thing, she would just get a kick out of it,
Oh,
and
so nice.
I think it would be fun to share a glass. So every once in a while, I'll sit in my hammock and I'll just kind of think about her, and sometimes I feel really close to her. So it's just really neat to.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it would be nice.
That would be really nice.
But
in your dreams, right?
Yep. Yeah, and I guess I figure, I don't know what I believe in terms of, afterlife and all that stuff, but regardless, I am part of her. I have her DNA in me, so I still feel like, if nothing else, I can connect with her that way, and I have my memories as well. So
that's really important. Yeah, that's so important. Very cool. Good for you. I'm happy you feel that way.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time today to chat with me.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to hit stop recording, and then you share it. I'll email to you and you share it wherever you need to.
Okay.